Have you ever seen someone take this and turn it into this?
I've been a professional chef now for the past 10 years, working in professional kitchens, some of the best restaurants in the world.
Today I'm going to be making pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is a classic around this time of year. Right now is the season. It's very simple to make. Today I'm making it with a beautiful whole pumpkin pie pumpkin. Okay, I'm going to show you the whole process, start to finish. Making short crust dough, rolling it out, lining the tart mold, making the perfect tart, making this beautiful pumpkin puree. Okay, and then we're going to finish it with some beautiful Chantilly with vanilla bean inside of it. So let's get started. So first step, what we need to do, guys, is get this pumpkin in the oven. Okay, we're not going to put the pumpkin in whole. When you make pumpkin pie with a pumpkin, it's very important that you don't get a big carving pumpkin. Make sure you get a small, sweeter pumpkin. This size is good. Sometimes at your supermarket, they'll sell them pumpkin pie pumpkins or squash. Squash works as well. You just don't want anything too big, too woody. The flavor won't be quite as good, okay? So first thing you want to do is sort of take the top off. Carve it just as if you're carving a pumpkin. Okay, there's your top. Get rid of that. Cut it in half. Be careful, don't cut yourself. Take a spoon, scrape them seeds out. You could save these seeds if you like. Clean off all the stringy pumpkin that's attached to them and sort of rinse them off. Toast them in the oven with a little bit of oil, olive oil and some salt, just until they get nice and toasted and crispy. It's a really nice snack. Put it on top of salads. All the seeds are out. Same thing on the other one. If you don't want to do this much work, that is completely fair and fine. You can buy pureed pumpkin at the grocery store. Just substitute the weight of this pumpkin, pureed pumpkin, in this recipe for the weight of the canned pumpkin puree that you can find. And if you substitute it 1-for-1 equal parts, then you can use this same recipe with that pre-bought pumpkin. So here we have our two beautiful pumpkin halves. No more seeds inside of them, okay? Take a little paper towel as well and just sort of get any stringy bits out. So cut it into quarters like this. It's easier to work with the pumpkin like that on the board than it is as a half or a whole. Now you can take your knife and just run it along the skin on the outside. And that skin is really tough, so you want to take it off. And if you do it this way, you've sort of got two surfaces that you can balance, hold the pumpkin sturdy on the chopping board. Now what we want to do is just take it down, smaller pieces to be diced. Watch. Here we have our beautiful diced pumpkin, okay? No seeds, no stems, no sticks. Now what we're gonna do is get it onto a baking tray like this. And we're gonna give it a little season. Some oil, not too much, just enough to coat each piece with a little bit on the outside. Some salt. 2 pinches of salt, not too much. Remember, it's a sweet dessert. You don't want it to be too salty. Brown sugar. Brown sugar is going to add that sweetness that we need, but it's also going to give that deep molasses flavor of brown sugar. That was about 5.5 tablespoons. We're going to add other white girl spices, okay? That is nutmeg, ground ginger, and last but not least, cinnamon. Tablespoon of cinnamon, okay? This isn't a cinnamon challenge. This isn't put so much cinnamon that your neighbors can smell it. Now, get involved a little bit with your hands. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Josh, why would I go through this much effort to buy a pumpkin, to cut it, to season it, to roast it, to puree it, when I could just buy pumpkin puree? And it's actually a lot more easy and saves me a lot of time. To that, I would say that's a really good point. But now, at least you have an option. Now you know, watch this video, you learn something new, and now you can make pumpkin pie 2 ways. Learning and growing. That's what this is all about. Look how beautiful this looks. So now what we want to do is take all this pumpkin and put it in the oven. I don't want to dry roast it really so much. Not so much steamed either, but not dark, okay? I don't want a dark caramelization. So take some tin foil, and by wrapping it with tin foil, you're allowing steam to get trapped inside of this tray, obviously. The steam is gonna come out of the pumpkin, hit the tin foil, come back down, and you're gonna have a nice wet, moist environment to cook that amazing pumpkin. This pumpkin is now going to go into the oven, 350 degrees. We'll check it after 30 minutes. We'll see how that goes. Now, our pumpkin's in the oven. We can start the fun part. The fun part is making a tart. Making a tart shell is a very good skill to learn. There's a lot of really little things that you need to know that you can't mess up. It's kind of technical and difficult, but when you get it, it's really satisfying and enjoyable to make, okay? First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start by making our short crust dough. 1 part butter to 2 parts flour. Half the amount of flour should be butter. So this is 200 grams of flour. We're gonna be putting just over 100 grams, 115 grams of butter. It's really important that the butter is cold. You need to cut the butter into the flour, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So you put the flour into the bowl, take your butter, cut it into small cubes. Now you can do this in the food processor as well. In fact, if you have a food processor, I would recommend you do it in there, but doing it by hand is also very possible, and it's a nice way to do it to kind of feel it and get a feeling and understanding about what you're making. In this bowl, we have flour and butter, that's all. 200 grams of flour, 100 grams of butter. I'm also gonna put a pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar, okay? Actually, you know what? 2 pinches of sugar, because this is gonna be for a sweet dough. Now, what you wanna do, take your hands, and all you're doing is pinch that butter. Break it down, make it smaller. The butter needs to be ice cold. It needs to be really cold, straight out of the fridge. You can put it in the freezer for 10 minutes to like firm it up even more if your fridge isn't that cold. You don't want it to melt into the flour. That's what's important. What you're trying to create right now is like, they call it sablé in French, which means sand. So that's what you want to imagine making, is basically the texture of sand with the butter that's in the flour without any liquid yet. We're gonna add liquid after. Rubbing your hands together like that. Take the flour and just roll it together and break up all that butter. Just careful that it's not in your hand too long and you're putting the heat from your hand into the butter and melting the butter, because that's not going to work out well for you. It's really important that the butter's not melted here. You can use pastry flour, cake flour, which is, you know, the same thing, or you can use all-purpose flour. I would not be using bread flour, anything high gluten, because when you eat a cake, you don't want the cake to be chewy. You don't want the cake to be glutinous. You want it to be soft and delicate, and you want to be able to run your fork through it and have no resistance whatsoever. Same thing with pie crust. The idea of putting butter into flour, and the why they call it short crust, is because you're actually fat actually shortens the gluten strands of the flour. So that's what's really important, okay? Just making sure that you're understanding that you don't want to work this too much, because the longer you work dough and kneading it by hand, the more chewy it's going to get, the harder it's going to get. You want to just mix it enough so that it comes together, and that's it, e basta, okay? Very important. So I'm at the stage now where I have my sablé, I have sand. The butter is fully incorporated into the flour. You can see there's still some bigger pieces in there, but pretty much it's crumbly. That's what you're looking for, all right? Next step, we need to add the liquid. All it is egg and a tiny splash of water. We're gonna put 1 egg, okay? And put half an eggshell of really cold water. Ice water from your fridge. I have this dispenser that's cold. Cold water. Give that a whisk, nice mix together. Okay. Egg, pour it in, and just mix it together until it all starts to come together. As soon as it comes together like that, take your hand and just form it together, and just so that it feels like it's fully mixed, but don't go any further than that. If you continue to knead it, you're gonna build too much strength, and when you cook it, the whole pie is gonna shrink on you, okay? Which you don't want. So that just came together like that. So that's our short crust dough. I'm gonna give it more flour just to help stop it from sticking. Now what we're gonna do is wrap it with cling film and get it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, okay? You can do it overnight, you can do it hours in advance, but I would say it needs at least 30 minutes to fully chill. You want the dough to all become one temperature all the way through. You want the butter and the flour to all become one temperature so that when you work it, it comes together and it's more pliable, okay? You also want to give that gluten time to relax a little bit so that when you roll it, it doesn't come back together. Fridge, 30 minutes. Here we have our pie dough, been in the fridge for 30 minutes. Now it's ready to be rolled. I got my lovely pie tin right here, okay? I got my short crust. So open it up, pop it on the bench. Now what we want to do is roll it out. And it's cold. So push it down. Give it some flour if it's sticking. But really what you want to do is roll it out nice and gently but firm. If it cracks, you can sort of do some patchwork to it. The egg gives that dough some good structure so that it's resilient, all right, and it's not going to break on you so easily. The other thing is if you put too much butter and you don't cut it in enough, it starts breaking on you. There we have our short crust dough. The outsides will break on you a little bit, but it's fine. If it's big enough, it shouldn't really be an issue that the outsides break because of the way that we're going to line the tart casing with it. If the cracks go through really, like say this, kept going into here like that, all you do is kind of take it, place it back on top of itself, and roll it. It'll stick together, okay? So you can kind of do that across the board. Just make sure you have enough flour, not too much flour, but you know, just enough. Bring it to the size of the tart mold plus another couple inches for the edges, all right? So what I want to do now is just take it on my rolling pin like this, a little bit more flour. Now watch. Take it onto the rolling pin and just roll it up like that, okay? Then take your tart mold, take a little knob of butter, okay, and just rub it on the tart mold. The heat from your hands will sort of melt the butter a little bit. Do the sides as well, so the pastry doesn't stick to the tart shell. Now, take the pastry, be very careful, and just line it right into that tart mold, okay? Pick it up and just let it fall. Let gravity do its job. Try your best to get it to knock it down into the corners with your hands, but when you can't do it with your hands anymore, find an area of the pie with a lot of extra pastry hanging off and just pinch it off, see? Like this, okay? Roll it up into a little ball in your hand, dip it in your flour, okay? And watch. The inside of the tart shell, where the corners are, has a little bit of a space in between. So what you're gonna do is take this little ball of dough and just press it into the corners and on the sides. You see the difference it's making? The dough is malleable. It's going to actually shape around the rivets, shape into the corner. Now, take your dough, excess dough, and make sure it's all hanging over the sides. Take your rolling pin, okay, and just roll it over the top. And that will cut all the excess dough off. When this dough cooks, it's going to shrink. It's going to come down naturally just because of the way it is. The amount of butter that's in there, the butter's going to melt, okay, the dough is going to shrink. So what you want to try to do to mitigate that is, since you just pushed all this down, there's a little bit of excess dough there, and what you want to do is just pop that up. So you see, you're just giving it an extra half a centimeter even of height. Beautiful. Take a fork and dock it, okay? Take your fork, go all the way around. Don't go all the way through the pastry to the bottom. You want to go about 50% of the way, not all the way through, maybe just over 50% of anything. This is going to help the dough cooking evenly, again, not shrinking on you. Take another pie tin, if you have it, and pop it right inside. A pie tin that's one size smaller, that will go in and hold the bottom down, okay? It's going to help with the shrinking, but it's also going to help with the rising. If you didn't put this in here and you put it in the oven, that dough on the bottom would start to puff up. The butter would start to melt, it would create steam, and the steam would get trapped inside of the dough, and the dough would rise, and you would have big bubbles in the bottom of your tart. Then once those bubbles bake and turn hard, you crack them, and the whole bottom of your pastry is ruined, okay? So what we do is you blind bake them, okay? So if you didn't have another tart shell like this, you would take parchment paper or even cling film. You would use something like beans or rice. A lot of times, if you've heard the term blind baking, blind beans, that's what it's from. You pour the beans into the bottom of the tart, and the beans weigh down the pastry, so the pastry doesn't rise on the bottom. I'm basically doing that, but I'm doing it with another tart shell. The reason why I like using tart shells like this instead of beans is these things conduct heat. They get hot, which means you have nice heat distribution and cooking on that bottom layer as well, which is nice because a lot of times if you use beans or rice or something like that, the tart on the side is cooked and then the tart on the bottom is raw. That's our pie shell. We're gonna get it in the oven right now for about 25 minutes on 350, all right? All right, guys, so our pumpkin's been in the oven now for 40 minutes. Pumpkin's cooked. I've taken it out of the oven and now it's cooling down on the side, okay? The pie crust has been in the oven for 25 minutes. I'm about to pull it out of the oven and show you guys how to finish it, okay? Let's go. Here we've got our pie. I was telling you earlier how it's gonna shrink. Now you can see how it shrunk. Pie crust shrunk down a little bit. There's a little bit of wavy sides, inconsistencies in the sides. I'm gonna show you guys how to fix that right now, okay? Take a microplane, and all you're doing is just scraping the sides so it becomes even. You just hold the pie on the bottom and twist it and making it level. Next step, a little bit of egg wash. So egg wash is going to act as sort of a layer of protection, okay? Take a whole egg, whisk that egg, give it a little tiny pinch of salt, and a little splash of water. Now the salt is going to start breaking it down a little bit, making it more runny, and same thing with the water. It's going to make it so it's not too thick. If the egg's too thick and you try to brush it on, it's going to clump up. What you want to have is a really nice, even, thin layer of egg wash all the way around. That egg wash is going to just soak up into the pie, and it's going to act as sort of a layer of protection. It's going to sort of bound inside. It's going to make it so that no filling will seep out the bottom because it'll actually fill all the pores inside. Now this pie's been in the oven for 25 minutes now. It's not fully cooked. I would say it's about 3/4 cooked. It's going to go back in the oven as soon as we get our pumpkin puree inside of it. Pumpkin custard, rather. Just take a really light, even brush of egg and just brush the inside of the tart on the outside as well. You can see how it shines it right up. Now all that egg's on. We're gonna pop it back in the oven for 2 minutes just to let that egg seal, cook, okay? All right guys, here's our pumpkin. It's soft, it's cooked all the way through. It's sweet, has that brown sugar on it. It's really, really good. Now what I wanna do is make my custard that I'm gonna pour into the pie shell. So put my blender jug on the scale. Pumpkin. I'm putting 600 grams of pumpkin. To that, we're going to add 300 grams of heavy cream. I'm going to get that on. While that's blending, I'm going to crack the eggs. 4 large eggs. Crack the eggs into a bowl on the side in case you get shell. Like that, you can see the shell. There's the pumpkin and the cream. Blend it some more so it becomes fully homogenized. Into this, I'm going to add 1 egg at a time. Oh, 2 eggs at a time. Yeah. 600 grams of pumpkin puree, 4 eggs, and 300 grams of heavy cream. You'll have a puree that looks like this. Once you get those eggs in there, be careful not to have it beating in the blender for too long because you're not trying to whip any air into it. The eggs are just there to basically set this pumpkin puree like a custard. Okay, now don't forget, you seasoned your pumpkin with brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, all that stuff, and then you put cream and eggs into it. That was pretty bland. So what you want to do is use this stage now to taste your pumpkin puree and season it a little bit more if it needs it. If it needs a bit more sugar, if it needs a bit more spices, okay, chances are it will. Yeah. So it's already quite sweet, which I like, but I want to add a little bit more spice. So I'm going to add some cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. It's a beautiful thing right there. See that? Another taste. Good to go. Now, take your beautiful pumpkin puree. Make sure that this isn't stuck. First of all, you have your tart casing. Okay? Take your pumpkin puree, fill the tart about 3/4 to the top. It's gonna rise. Our pumpkin pie is gonna go into a 325-degree oven. We don't want it to go too hot, too fast, too much color, none of that. We want it to cook nice and gently. It is a custard after all. And then I'm gonna have this pan just underneath on the rack underneath the pie, and I'm gonna put some boiling water into it to put some steam into the oven. Pie goes in, take this pan of boiling water into this tray, and just like that, that'll go in the oven underneath the pie. Let's set a 25-minute timer and we'll check it after that. All right guys, so we got our pumpkin pie here. It was in the oven for about 35 minutes. It's completely cooled down, it's set. Now we're gonna carve it, all right? We're gonna get a nice slice out of it. I like to use a serrated bread knife when cutting pastry. It's a lot cleaner. Now what you wanna look for to know that this is ready is just a slight wobble in the middle. It shouldn't be too firm and it shouldn't be too loose. It should be a nice, light, set custard. That is actually perfect. It's exactly what you want. You want it to be almost a little bit wobbly, no, but not too firm. Not too firm and rubbery, and not too loose so that it all falls out, okay? So give yourself a nice slice. That right there is a beautiful slice of pumpkin pie. The last thing that we need to do is make a little Chantilly to put on top. What is Chantilly? Chantilly's whipped cream. We're gonna whip it by hand. Okay, we're gonna put a little bit of icing sugar and some vanilla bean inside. Okay, so get some cream, get it into a bowl. 35% heavy cream. This is a vanilla bean, guys. Vanilla beans are very expensive. They have loads of little tiny seeds inside of them. What we're gonna do is split it and scrape them out. This is how we do it. I don't need all of this because I'm only gonna do a couple portions of whipped cream. I'm gonna take probably about 1/4 of it, cut it in half, all right, like this. Take that half and scrape. And you can see all those tiny little seeds. All those tiny little seeds, thousands of them. Pop them straight in. So we got vanilla bean, a little bit of icing sugar, and you're just gonna whisk it together. When you're making whipped cream, you're trying to whip air into the cream. I like whipping cream by hand if I'm doing a small amount because you just have a lot more control. All right, a lot of people tend to over whip the cream, so it becomes really sort of firm. It's kind of nice to have the air bubbles small, soft, and luxurious. Now, a little bit of lemon zest, not too much. Just to brighten it up a little bit. Tiny little dash of nutmeg. And there you have, ladies and gentlemen, a beautiful slice of handmade pumpkin pie. Short crust, whole pumpkin cooked down, cinnamon, brown sugar, nutmeg, pureed together with a bit of egg, set like a very loose custard, hand-whipped whipped cream with fresh vanilla bean, lemon zest, nutmeg. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That is fresh. It's not too sweet. It's delicious. It's beautiful. Perfect for this time of year. Send this to a white girl that you love. Oh my God. It's so smooth. Not too sweet. Not too rich. That's delicious. That is a good pie. All right.